Hello, welcome to smallcaps.com.au. I am occasional and now regular talking head James Whelan here on an absolutely stellar day that I've got in the office, somewhere I didn't really want to be today, but you get the opportunity to talk to some companies sometimes and you have to grab it both hands. We've got a very special one for you here today. We are joined by Scott Winter, Managing Director and CEO of Critical Minerals Group, ASX listed CMG. I've been following this company for some time. I believe that at some stage I was personally invested and probably am still actually in some sense. But anyway, full disclosure there with everything that we do. The company is developing its flagship Linfield Vanadium project in Queensland, aiming to build a pit-to-battery supply chain for Australia's grid-scale energy storage market with a major pre-feasibility study, also known as a PFS, obviously, approaching and strong backing from its strategic partner, Iremitsu. It's a critical time to get an update. Scott, great to have you on the show.
Thanks, James. Great to be here. Pretty exciting times for us. Thanks for that intro. It's it is exciting. We're building some great stuff.
And I really want to get into that also for myself. I like having these conversations because I'm going to look at a shoebox and I'm going to find some CMG stock that's in there somewhere. I think I do have it on an account one. So let's get straight into it. For those who are new to Critical Minerals Group, could you give us a high-end overview of the company and what your core mission is in the energy material space?
Yeah, sure. Really founded in vanadium, as you said before. Vanadium primarily for the use of vanadium flow batteries, which, as you know, is really at the heart of long-duration storage. So we've got a strategy in the business set up 18 months ago to look at basically establishing a full supply chain, understanding the whole network, the suppliers, the participants, a full supply chain all the way from our mine producing a vanadium pentoxide through producing the active material, vanadium electrolyte, and then engaging customers through a network of suppliers and partners to deliver energy solutions for those customers, both domestically and internationally. So lots of moving parts, great opportunity to invest in, Headco and the separate businesses that we've got within those.
Well, let's just get into the strategy. So obviously vanadium is key to what it is that you do. Can you explain what pit to battery is with regards to in the model and why producing the high value vanadium electrolyte is so compelling to the grid storage market?
Yeah, exactly. So the active material, which we sort of hear all about, is vanadium electrolyte, and that is essentially what they call vanadium pentoxide dissolved in a weak acid, sulfuric acid solution. So that is the electrolyte. It's a mix of 3 and 4 plus, V3 plus V4 plus, and that is the material that is pumped throughout the flow battery. Super important. That is the material that we'll ultimately be selling. But it is essentially sort of produced by making the vanadium pentoxide first. So our resource that sits in North Queensland and around Julia Creek, the Linfield project, has a huge resource of mineralized material that's got good grades of vanadium in it. It's got some other material in there like HPA and molybdenum that we sort of bleed off and add some value as well. But vanadium is our primary focus. It'll be produced at a purity that is greater than that for the general alloys. So vanadium pentoxides primarily in the world has been in the past used for alloys. So trades at about 98.5%, but we'll be making a higher purity, like a 99.5, and then removing the impurities so that it's suitable for those flow batteries. So our offtake essentially can be twofold. So customers really, which are the battery suppliers, those dry battery suppliers like Sumitomo or Invinity or Cellcube H2, Ronki, those guys essentially are looking for a good quality, secure supply of vanadium electrolyte, and that's what we'll be producing.
All right. Well, that does explain it quite well too. The purity of these things, you mentioned HPA, which is something that I've been across, and the purity of these particular things in the future with regards to batteries, LEDs, everything like that is phenomenal. You get it right, off-takers love it, and you can repeat it, and then you're set for the rest of the career, which is fantastic. So
Absolutely.
You've recently hit. Let's talk about milestones, obviously, as we're in that subject. Completing the power supply study for Linfield and progressing the operation. What are the key drivers of progress right now as you de-risk this project?
Yeah, great question. It's sometimes a sort of a bit of a quiet period while you're just putting the energy and effort into the studies because they do take a while. Key to the Linfield project and the PFS, which will include the development of the mine, plus the electrolyte plant that will suit the quantity of pentoxide coming out of that mine. So we're deep, almost finished our bench scale testing, what we've actually done is a mix of bench scale testing to make sure we've got an economic flow sheet, which we have. We've got two options actually that we're refining now to give us that flexibility. And it's really about making sure we've got the right capital stack to build, optimizing the capital and optimizing the operating costs as well. So that's looking good for us. And then the second part of that is the vanadium electrolyte. So we'll produce a quantity of pentoxide, and we're including in that whole feasibility study a sort of the downstream step, we'll call it our midstream step of producing the electrolyte as well. So it's progressing really well. We've done the bench scale testing. We've done half a pilot, which we sort of put into there. We felt we needed to do some piloting as well, which is really showing better results than bench scale. It's more representative of your testing. And all of the other parts of the study, which, mine plan and the infrastructure, like you said, the power study. So we have a power solution now that's complete, which is great. Water, we've got very good access to water. And things like accommodation, those sort of other elements that help you make sure you've got a robust project to deliver, not only just the sort of the mine itself, are really progressing well. So, start of next year, we should finish that and report that to the market, all going well.
Well, the start of next year is not that far away, so it's always good to have something on the near horizon. It's just, you blink and the next thing you know, the year's almost done. So it's your major shareholder. It's always good to have a good partner in these things. Iremitsu is a great investor to have in the registry. Can you talk about how this critical partnership is evolving beyond just the capital investment and how they're involved in the strategy?
Yeah, look, they've been terrific. They've invested for quite a while now in just moving their business, pointing their business towards renewables and a sort of a greener sort of base, certainly in Australia. So they not only, as you said, bring balance sheet and support financially, but they really bring a tech horsepower and review and checks. So they bring that robust sort of governance to the table. As we're presenting material, they've certainly got ideas and a direction, from a high level market perspective all the way through some of the technical aspects of the project. So that's great. Certainly opening doors to, various agencies, departments, the federal government, which are all very important for us, getting our message out there and helping, drive the message around long duration storage and sort of adjusting policy as required. It's a really broad sort of support they provide, and a shoulder to cry on every now and again. So it's good.
We all need that, Scott. So the end market for vanadium electrolyte is global, as you discussed.
Yeah.
The requirements for batteries is a pretty solid thing that we're going to be having for the rest of our lives. As you advance these projects, what traction are you seeing for potential offtake partners here or internationally?
Look, I was saying earlier, one thing we've really seen, for the last 12 months, we've been really spending a lot of time in understanding the energy market domestically and the nuances and what that means for flow batteries. Flow batteries are suited to 6+ hours, 6, 8, 10, and they can really have whatever duration beyond that. So you need to see, certainly in Australia, policy that's sort of directing tenders and opportunities to put these batteries into of those tenders coming out. There was a firm tender came out from South Australia. It was 700 megawatts, 8-hour plus battery, so 5 gigawatt hours of storage, which is the right message, the right application, the opportunity for us, and that's what we're targeting. And they're not the only ones. The LTESA scheme in New South Wales is terrific. And, they're providing real opportunities. So the offtake, as you mentioned, we're looking for energy storage as an offtake initially, because that drives and pulls through the requirement for the flow battery, which then ultimately requires vanadium electrolyte, which ultimately requires pentoxide. So when I talk about this strategy around market to mine, it is around securing energy offtake or projects that require flow batteries. And we are a face or a customer-facing business for those suppliers of batteries, Ronki, Invinity, Sumitomo, those particular groups that are really trying to place their product in the market. So we're driving that because if we can get those projects up and going, and we've seen some really good opportunities flow our way, a few not too far away, then that incentivizes and underwrites the vanadium electrolyte that we will manufacture and the growth of those facilities. Now, that's domestically. The really interesting thing we're seeing internationally from the US, from the UK and Europe is very aggressive sort of, I suppose, contact and negotiations with companies like us around taking this technology we've got and our sort of source of vanadium pentoxide into those to help them establish their supply chains in those countries. So we've got some really mature conversations going with government agencies, really pulling us through and supporting those, and those companies in battery suppliers in those countries as well. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Okay. It's always good to have. Yeah, it's a good list of potential partners, which is great. Yeah, I can read what you're saying there, which is good. So, talking back to government, speaking of governments, you've also been awarded $2.7 million of government grant to establish a domestic end-to-end supply chain. Very important to have end-to-end supply chains nowadays. How is this grant funding being deployed, and what does it fast track for you guys?
Yeah, it's a supply chain funding, really. It's there to facilitate things like bulk sample extraction from Linfield, which will then go into the Queensland government's QR Cuff facility in Townsville. So you're basically taking bulk material out, putting it into a bigger facility to check and test your flow sheet. So that's how it's accelerating. It'll assist in accelerating the EIS, some of the work we're doing around the environmental studies and the water studies that we're doing. It helps to sort of get bores into the ground and the studies developed and into the EIS. And through the whole approval process, the federal government supportive. Obviously, there's biodiversity and water that the federal government really administers through the EPBC. So, they've got a keen eye on what we're doing and how we're doing it. But the cash just enables that activity to really flow well. And, we've got a regular contact with them.
That is good. End supply, absolutely. I can't stress how important that is too. The Julia Creek region is known for vanadium. What gives the Linfield project its unique competitive advantage? What stands out at the Julia Creek?
Yeah, it's great. Look, I've developed a lot of operations over my time. I am young, Map. The Linfield is unique. There's a great community there that are really open and supportive. We've got a land owner that is on the project that is really supportive and helpful along the way. When you look at Linfield as a resource, we're focused on the weathered material, which is sub 20 metres. So we're 0 to 20, 25 metres tops as a mine in weathered material that doesn't need drill and blast, doesn't need anything. So it's very mining friendly. Our resource and our tenement sits across it's quite close to town, and it has the rail going through it. It's got the main road going through it. So again, we're close to infrastructure, close to future power that may come through that area. So it's regionally very good. From a mining perspective, it's great. The pocket of resource that we've defined from a vanadium richness perspective is great. It has low impurities that we know we can remove and we can sort of improve the grade and make a good quality V2O5. So everything's pointing towards it being a lovely sort of resource, and that's one tenement out of 4 that we've got. So it's there's a lot of opportunity in the Toolbark generally. We've seemed to have found a really hot spot that's great for us.
Looking ahead, what's the next key catalyst that you have that investors should be watching out for as you advance the operations?
So as we said, the PFS will be in Q1 next year, early next year. That's really important. The battery projects, we've got a number of tenders that we're expecting some responses on coming back, and that'll be over the next sort of 3 months. The partnerships that you mentioned, I'll sort of keep quiet, but there's some very positive, proactive conversations in that regard.
Yep.
So that's the electrolyte. Again, we're not only doing a 1 million litre facility that we've talked about in Logan, but we're doing a 10 and 20 design as well, just to get that. And if demand really peaks up, then we might find we jump straight into something like that. Again, that's all to be sort of growth driven, but those sort of things we're looking ahead because it could just really start to take off. So there's some exciting partnership things, study things, some real value add and more definition about what specific parts of the project we're going to be doing in the next, 6 months.
Yep. Yeah, I can see exactly what's I can't see exactly what's ahead, but I can definitely see that it's more positive than negative, I think, and that's probably that's got to be a good thing. Now, we have mentioned the vanadium flow batteries with regards to long duration storage. Would you say 6 to 8 and beyond for that sort of area? That how do you see the demand? I mean, you've mentioned a few things. You mentioned a tender for something quite substantial. Is there more of a demand that's going on globally for this sort of technology coming into the grid?
Yeah, look, there's a place for all technologies. I will say that, James. I mean, there'll be a smorgasbord of energy storage that sorts out the energy transition and is in the market. It has to be, because new technologies will come on. We haven't even seen some. Where the flow battery really finds its niche is in the long durations. At the moment, if you look at the energy transition in Australia, you'll see that the renewable penetration in the middle of the day, through the daylight, is 80+%. That's our target. That's what we're trying to get to. But in the night, it falls back to about 30 because you've got coal-fired sort of continue to come through. That's the only thing that's giving you that hit through that period from 8 p.m. through to 6 a.m. in the morning. Lithium batteries are in there and they're starting to improve. Their costs are quite low. They're getting durations greater than 2 to 4 hours. They're sort of creeping up to the 6, but, the flow batteries are cheaper when you get beyond 6. So you've got lithium batteries that are sorting that peak arbitrage time between sort of 6 and 8 when the duck curve goes right over. Everyone's turning their, microwaves on and cooking dinner and doing all those sorts of things, but then it drops off. The flow batteries come in across not only Australia, but it happens all around the world because it's just how the energy sort of uptake works. They come in when you want good, constant power through that night time. And to offset, as we're seeing these coal-fired generations start to fall away, or, we're not going to continue to put any money back into refurb them, across the state. South Australia is probably, when you think about it, because it doesn't have any of the coal-fired power station, it is a great example. They're the ones that probably led the way in respect of this firm contract where they've specified 8-hour plus duration technology to tender for, the storage. And that's where we fit right in. So it's transitioning and growing, and it'll just increase and improve over time.
Finally, Scott, what's the key message to investors and consumers as CMG enters the next critical phase of development?
I think you've got a team that's really energised at what opportunities are in front of us. We've got a great resource that can make the solutions of what this energy transition needs. We've got great backers to support us, and we've got the right technology to get there. There's some really exciting activity in the next, 5-6 months, and we're all, pointing at that. So it's a good time to be in vanadium and in the sort of energy space.
You've summed it up pretty well there, Scott. So thank you very much for that. It's an exciting time for CMG as you de-risk the Linfield project and push that pit to battery storage forward. We'll be watching closely as you continue to hit those development milestones. Thank you for joining us today, Scott Winter of Critical Minerals Group.
Thanks very much, James. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. I'm James Whelan for smallcaps.com.au. Have a great day and stay safe.